Hey guys, Tired Dad here. And it is quiet. The kids aren't here, so I get to talk about this beautiful game called Pandemic in peace without being jumped on. Now, that might be disappointing for some of you, as disappointing as it might be that I don't have my beard anymore right now, but it'll come back, and so will the kids. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. For those of you who are, thank you so much. In truth, that is massive support and we really appreciate it. And for this particular video, feel free to hit that like button and make some comments on all the goofy things that I should have said during the overview or review that I might have missed. Otherwise, let's get to the table and talk about Pandemic. Alrighty, y'all, welcome to the world of Pandemic. Now, this is going to be kind of a quicker overview on a more, complicated game than the things we've talked about. So all that said, I'm still going to take some care here. There's a little bit of setup that I've already done, and I'll explain what's going on. But essentially what you need to know about this game is you are playing characters that are trying to save the world from 4 different viruses, or at least cure 4 different viruses that are plaguing everything going on here. Now, there are more ways to lose the game than win the game, so you need to go in kind of accepting the fact that it's possible, albeit more likely that you're going to lose. But at the beginning of the game, you want to kind of pick who you're going to be. Now, I highly recommend, no matter whether you're playing with 3 players, 2 players, 4 players, you always play with a 4-player count. And I'll explain how to do that here in just a second. But the characters that I recommend are the medic, because they cure the diseases quite well. The scientist, who needs 4 cards to find a cure. The researcher, who can pass cards to people very easily. And then the dispatcher that moves people around. Those are the 4 people that we usually play with, but they also have 3 additional characters: the operational expert, the contingency planner, and the quarantine specialist in this particular copy that I have. So for the sake of this, we're going to play with these 4 players. Now, you might be asking, Frank, how do you play with 4 players? Let's say you have 2. Well, 2 people will have 2 cards in their hand for the 4-player card count. And 1 player will have 2 cards for 1 character. So you just have to take mindful eye of this character's got these 2 cards, this character over here has these 2 cards, and bam, you basically just go in turn order and get things done. Now, the good news on this game is you can kind of go anywhere you want, but the game starts off already at a disadvantage. Some cities up here are already infected with certain diseases. So how do we win the game? Well, you're going to move your people around, and you're going to use your cards that you have in your hand to find a cure. Now, you need 5 cards to find a cure, or if you're the researcher, 4. You need to be at a research center, which you can actually build one of those at different periods of time to actually cure it. But once you cure it, you move this down here, and then you can actually potentially eradicate the disease if you have a cure and get rid of all of those little cubes, okay? Now, that's a very short version of this, but essentially what you're trying to do is find a cure for all 4 diseases. If you do, you automatically win. You're not needed to actually eradicate anything, but you're going to want to fight these diseases off as you go. So the board actually does a really good job. So you're going to do 4 actions, draw 2 cards after you've done, and then you're going to affect cities. So what are the 4 actions you can take? Here you go. Oh, there we go. So you can drive or ferry to a next place. So this is how you move around on the board. Okay, you can take a direct flight. So if you have a city card, so let's just say I have Sydney here, I could fly to Sydney by discarding this card, which puts us at a disadvantage when we want to find cures potentially. You can charter a flight where you move to a city that matches the city you are in to any other city. So if I was in Sydney in that scenario, I could fly to a different city. Or a shuttle flight, which is move from a city in a research center to any other research center. So in the beginning of the game, you only have 1 research center, so that's not really something that you can use. So you basically have 3 actions that you can take, 3 choices of actions you can potentially take. Now, the other things you can do, you can build a research center, treat disease, share knowledge, and discover a cure. We won't get into all of those, but essentially you can take any of those actions in any order you want. You've got 4 actions to take, and then you're going to draw 2 cards. So there are hand limits and a whole bunch of other things, but let's just get into how you have the game. So let's just say I've got the medic here. He's going to be the first player for whatever reason. We see that San Francisco's having a rough time, so he's going to go 1, 2 actions, and then he'll cure 2 of these cubes, right? Because if there are more than 3 cubes, let's go back and say there are more than 3 cubes, and let's just say San Francisco were to come back out in the deck, which it can, it's not only going to affect that city, but it's going to affect all of the adjoining cities, including, in this case, San Francisco goes to Milan and to Tokyo. Tokyo there, or not Milan, yeah, Manila, excuse me, not Milan. And so one of the losing conditions is all of these cubes of any color go away. If you lose all of the cubes of any color, so these outbreaks happen and they multiply the effect of what could happen there. If that happens, you're kind of screwed, right? And then so one thing's going to happen is you're going to have the outbreak marker go down one. If it gets all the way down to the death, you lose. So there's the second lose condition. And the other lose condition is if this deck ever runs out and you can't draw cards, which also happens from time to time. So let's just go back and let's just say that outbreak didn't happen. And he's done 2 actions and he's moved twice and he's cured twice. So his turn is almost done. He needs to draw 2 cards. So he'll take this one, and then we move on. So next person takes their 4 actions. They draw 2 cards. Oh, excuse me, pardon me. Then we're going to infect cities. So after he's drawn the 2 cards, you are going to infect cities up to your infection rate, which in this case would be 2. So another way that things are going to go out is you're going to have these cards flipped over. So Madrid gets hit, and then Tokyo gets hit. So this is a way that these cubes are going to run out over time. And it's hard to tell. Where is Tokyo? Tokyo's already got red on there. Weird. Okay. I don't know if I messed that up or not, but it doesn't really matter. We're just giving you an overview here. So eventually you're going to run into, as you're drawing cards, this thing called epidemic. So what you're going to do in this scenario is you're going to do 3 things. You're going to increase the infection rate track. So that's going to move from 2 to, 2 in this case, but it goes up and up and up all the way up to 4 and really can mess with you. You're going to infect, you're going to draw the bottom card from the infection deck and put 3 cubes on it, so right away. And then here's where it really gets rough. You're going to intensify. You're going to shuffle the cards that are in the infection deck. So if you got this real early in the game, that's not so good because there's very few cards. And then you're going to put them on top of the infection deck. So this all happens before you infect cities. So you've already got 3 cubes out, potentially more, probably more, and then you're going to have to draw them again at the new infection rate. So real bad, but these come up and they basically bone you. So again, the goal of the game is to cure all of these diseases at research centers. Use your characters to do so. Use your cards to do so. If you're lucky enough to have 5 or 4 cards, you can do so. That's basically how the game is played. Now, like I said, there's nuance to this, and this is fair to play with somebody who knows what they're doing, so I highly recommend that. But we'll get to a review in here in just a second. But essentially, this is a pretty neat co-op strategy game, highly acclaimed for a very good reason. So let's get back to the review. All right, guys. So look, this game is awesome. It is easily one of the best co-op games ever designed. There is a reason it's highly rated. It's a reason that it's highly acclaimed. It isn't actually as difficult to pick up and play as I may have made it seem. And if you are looking at the board going, that's too big, Frank, they've got smaller versions like this Pandemic Hotspot North America, as well as other smaller versions of the game that travel a little better. I highly recommend everybody have this in their collection, right? If you're new to the hobby and you're playing Catan or Ticket to Ride or any of those other games that are more gateway games, this needs to be there. Not necessarily Hot Zone or Pandemic, but a version of Pandemic should be in there. Don't buy the expansions, by the way. Stick with the original game, because here's what this game is just so much fun. It's so challenging at times to play this game, but it's so rewarding when you win. There is also a legacy version, actually 3 legacy versions of this game. We've played Legacy Season 1, and it is, in my opinion, the best game I've ever played in my life. I won't get into that one because that has spoilers and all kinds of stuff, and we finished that game. But this game is easily replayable. The game doesn't play the same anytime you play it. So for, novice gamers, for folks that maybe don't know what's going on in this hobby, this is a good one to pick up because it is actually quite easy to learn. I made it seem more complicated than it really is. Sorry about that. But this one I definitely recommend having. This is one that we love in our collection. It doesn't get played nearly as much with the kids, because, again, it's a little more complicated than a 6 and a 3-year-old can handle, but so much fun. If you are interested in this game, as I said in the beginning, please subscribe to the channel if you're not are not already. If you are not already, that's what I meant. Please subscribe. Write your comments on this one and like this post as well. That's a great help. But the subscription thing, I do price alerts and I watch out for games just like this. I did a price warning on this one recently because this one was actually overpriced at a discount. So be mindful. I actually have charts and things I can show people, but ultimately I track prices. I use apps to help track prices, and I can tell you all about that as well if you're interested. But subscribe, because that's how you're going to get those price alerts whenever they do come up. Because a game like this sometimes goes as low as 15 bucks if you're watching out for it. Most often at a deal, you can probably find it for $20. Brand new, out the box, great. And I'll keep you posted on that. But again, this one is a highly, highly recommended game to have in pretty much every collection. So that's about that. Thanks a lot for checking us out and all the support and love we've gotten so far. Really, really appreciate it. And we'll be back with more. Tired Dad out. Peace.